Welcome back to Better Than Before. I'm your host, Tony Richards, and special guest today is Tami Jaffe, and she's a breakout growth expert, energy shifter, and speaker who inspires successful professionals who are dreaming to resign and do something new. She helps guide her clients through the sometimes overwhelming prospect of starting a new business. In her own career, she's held leadership roles in areas of finance, client services, and technology for companies ranging from startups to a Fortune 100 company, but decided she wanted something more meaningful with greater impact, freedom, and flexibility. So she started her own business where she's made it her mission to liberate independent, success-minded professionals from the shackles of a corporate career so they can start to grow and scale their own business to not only replicate and replace their corporate income, but also exceed it. She's an eWomen Network premier success coach and has been featured on national broadcast radio and many podcasts, and ours, of course, today being one of them. And she's been seen around the world speaking to inspire others. She offers a wide range of coaching services and programs, from inspiring retreats, individual coaching, online courses, workshops, masterminds, and keynote speeches aimed to support you to reach your highest visions by getting clarity on your future and developing the courage and confidence to claim a better life. You definitely have a wonderful mission, Tami.
Well, thank you. It is an honor to be able to help people through that process.
And Tami's joining us from her home base in Charlotte, North Carolina today. And we're going to talk a little bit about what it is that you do to help folks and kind of go from there. Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up on a farm in Michigan.
So was it a dairy farm?
It wasn't dairy. We had beef cattle and corn and potatoes and lots of other vegetables and things that we grew. So I, learned from a very young age what it was like to work hard and get up early. And
I was going to say, you got that farm girl ethic.
I definitely
that work
do.
ethic. Yeah. Any brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one sister and two brothers.
Oh, cool. Cool. So you had to get the concept of sharing down also, I guess.
Yeah, and being the youngest, I was always the last to get anything. So
sure. So you're a career transition and business success coach. What was it in your background? Maybe I covered it in your bio and maybe I didn't, but what was it there that kind of drove you to become what you're doing now?
Well, I spent over 20 years in corporate, and I was honored to start leading at a very young age, and just a year out of college, started doing audit presentations and started reviewing and moving up into management very quickly. And I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed growing and learning and made a few career transitions, as you mentioned. And I got to this point in my career that I hit a plateau and I started to see things differently. And even though I really loved what I did and I loved the team that I had, it also came with a lot of stress and long hours, and I started to see things from a different perspective. I had started a family, had little kids at home, and all of a sudden, it was looking at things from a different lens. Is this what I want to continue to do? And I had to reevaluate where I was, what I wanted to do. I had always thought it was my mission to become the CFO or COO or CTO someday of a company. And all of a sudden that didn't seem so appealing anymore. And the politics weren't what I wanted. I was being asked to bend in ways that I didn't really want to bend as a leader. And so I started to think about what I wanted for my career, for my family, and how I wanted to spend the next 20 plus years. And I realized I needed to make a change. And I knew that I wanted to make a bigger impact and be able to help more people. I had always loved mentoring, and I had done that for years throughout my career. And so I explored the coaching world to start with. And that was kind of that next step for me. And once I started coaching, I realized it was something that I really loved. And I could see how it completely aligned with how I wanted to live my life and the things that I wanted to do. So I started off in the career coaching and consulting path. And when I started, I was doing a lot of leadership coaching because I had a lot of leadership experience and in helping a few people with career transitions, since I had been through a few of those on my own and learned how to do it successfully while increasing my income and not having to start over. And the more I learned about growing my own business and learning some of the hard lessons along the way, as I'm sure you learned as well, Tony, I became passionate about helping other people start their businesses and helping them to avoid those potholes because I believe it is all about doing the right things at the right time. And too many times people do the right things, but at the wrong time in their business.
Hmm.
And it creates this longer path to success. And they end up being, one of the 80% that the businesses don't survive. And that's not something I want to see for people. So that's why I got involved in helping people with that business transition and jumping ship from corporate to starting their business.
We have very similar backgrounds because that sounds almost identical to my experience in the past. I got to ask you, when you went from being a senior leader to in your own business, what were some of the, you mentioned hard lessons, like, so
Mhm.
are one or two of those right on top of your head that you could mention?
Yeah, I think, part of it was doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. It was a hard lesson for me. I think you like enter that entrepreneurial world and all of a sudden you become this magnet for all these people trying to tell you what to do. And, how this marketing method's going to work best and how this thing's going to be your secret to success
Oh my
and
goodness.
you fall into those traps of like, well, I got to learn these things, right? Because I'm a new business owner and I started doing some of the things that weren't the right time for where I was at my business, and it sucked a lot of time and energy and money away, and once I realized what I was doing and that it wasn't the right time and had the big wake up call, I was able to make some shifts and go back and change what I was doing in my business and come at it from the right perspective and the right angles. So that was one of the big, big lessons that I learned coming out, and that's, why I feel so passionate about helping others kind of avoid that pothole.
You know, for the 25 years or so that I was in corporate leadership, along those 25 years, I had a multitude of things I thought of as ideas I wanted to do. And when I went into my own business, I wanted to do them all,
Yeah.
you know? And I had a backlog of 25 years worth of stuff. And I quickly realized, hard lesson learned, that I wasn't going to be able to do them all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see there's 3 ways I see people go coming out of corporate, and that's one of them, right? They have like all of a sudden you have free reign. You're not waiting on someone else to approve your project or tell you what to do or, because when you're in corporate, you wait months, years
Hmm.
sometimes for something to be approved. And now you've got this free reign and you can go do whatever. And you've got these million ideas going through your head like you did. And you like try to go implement all of them at once and you don't get anything done or you get like you have like half done of all these different things. And so that's like one extreme that I see. And the other extreme is people are, they're like, okay, I'm going to go start this new business. And then they're sitting around and they don't realize it, but they're actually waiting for someone to validate or approve their next move
Hmm.
because they're so used to having someone else give that stamp of approval and the budget approval and here's what you go do next and they they just stay stagnant.
The other thing I struggled with, and I don't know if you did, but I struggled with structuring my time any way I wanted.
Yes.
Like in corporate life, I pretty much worked from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., right?
Mhm.
And lunch was always 11 to 1, somewhere in that time frame. But if on Thursday, after I left and started my own business, if on Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon I wanted to go see a movie, I could. And I that was so foreign to me.
Yeah, it's the freedom factor, I call it. So, I was actually just talking about this on one of, my videos the other day. I had the word freedom as my word for the year I left my corporate job, and I took it to an extreme, right? It was, I found my freedom and I left corporate and I was able to start my business, but then there was so much freedom that I was like, I don't have calls. Like I used to be on phone calls and in meetings 10 to 12 hours a day. And now I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm free. I don't have to do that. I don't want anybody booking anything on my calendar. And I literally like energetically started pushing people away because I was like, I want a free calendar.
Hmm.
And that freedom factor comes in and it's the other extreme. And so you've got to learn that self-time management and self-motivation that when you're in the corporate world, you have eyes on you, people watching you all the time.
Do you still manage your own calendar?
I do.
Yeah, it's control, man. I mean, it's wanting to, I'm going to do these things on this day and I'm going to take meetings on this day and it's a wonderful thing.
It is, yes. Have certain times, certain days and times that are open for clients to book, and the other times are, I schedule it out. So it's it's great to be able to control it and to have some of that freedom, but also not take it to a complete extreme where you're like avoiding everything and just going and doing everything you can because now you have so much freedom.
Well, it's the innovation and the advent of technology that has enabled us. You're in Charlotte this afternoon. I'm in Columbia. We're several states away, but we're working, right? And it has given us the ability to merge lifestyle and professionalism. And if we don't have the proper balance in that, it could cause us some issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lesson you've got to learn.
So, what were some of the other things you learned in corporate that you were able to transition over to your business?
I think one of the key things that I learned as being a leader in corporate was being able to see a really big vision of where we were going to take the company and take projects, and then being able to break that down into practical plans and steps and how to make it happen. I spent years leading multi-million dollar, multi-year projects, and that was a critical part of being successful was delivering on time and on budget. So this is something that I can use now as I can see a big vision for my own company as well as my clients and then break that down into practical steps that you've got to take in order to get there. And so that's been one of the lessons that I've been able to take with me and be able to use.
The whole idea of coaching people in career transition totally fascinates me. So, tell me, give me a description of somebody who's now in one of the kind of jobs that we talked about, or maybe they're working for somebody else, but they're thinking about going into business for themselves. What are the things that they should be thinking about?
I think some of the things that they need to be thinking about is, you know, first just realizing that starting your own business is definitely one of the most rewarding, most freeing things, as you and I both talked about that freeing aspect, but it is one of the most challenging things. So don't go into it with blinders thinking that just because you're an expert in a certain area, you've spent all these years, you've made multiple six figures, that you're going to be able to start your business to replace your income in no time because statistics show that that's not the reality and it takes a couple years to build a business to even a point that you get profits. And so not to say that it can't happen right away, but it's just not statistically what happens for most people. And so there are three main keys that I like to share with people when they're wanting to make that transition. And the first key is getting clarity. And what I mean by this is you've got to get clear on what your business is, who your clients will be, why they need your product or service, and then get clear on your message. Because without those pieces in place, your business isn't going to go anywhere. And so, first start with that, getting the clarity around those things. And then the second key is courage. You have to have the courage to make the right decision and take action. So, even if you get clear on your messaging and what you're doing, if you're stuck in fear and around why it might not work, then you'll never make it happen. So, you've got to find that courage to take the first step and then the second step and then the third step.
And that's also because there's a lot of risk, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me when I actually, turned in my resignation and said I'm leaving my corporate job because I literally left at a point where I had just gotten a promotion. I had what looked like my ideal job that I had worked 20 plus years for, and it was, mind blowing to some people who corporate life is their life and that's all they want. But I would step away from that. And I had so many people come up and be like, this got to be really scary for you. This takes a lot of courage. And, I just looked at him and I said, if I was that scared, I would not be doing this. Like, you have to get yourself to a point, fear can be a driver, but not that fear that keeps you stuck, right? It's,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit of being a little scared is okay. Like, but if you're so scared that you can't even imagine what's possible, then you're never going to go anywhere. And so I just shared with them that, I had to get myself to a point where I knew this is exactly what I wanted. I knew how I wanted it. I was clear on what I wanted. And then it's not so scary because you have a path to success.
So you got to have a lot of courage. What's next then?
The third key was commitment. And that is, you've got to be completely committed to your goal and willing to make it happen, because any little thing's going to come along the way and be a distraction. And if you aren't completely committed, you're going to go off on tangents and not make it happen.
Yeah, one of the things I like to ask people is, if you don't have a strong commitment, how do you generate courage?
Right.
Right? I mean, the only way to really generate courage is off of a strong commitment. And it's really as good as your word is to yourself. If your word is very strong to yourself, you'll keep your commitment to yourself and you'll find the courage. I know people who, somebody will ask them, for instance, hey, would you be on this fundraising committee, or would you give the presentation or a speech? And when the day before comes, they're like, I can't believe I told them I'd do this. Like, I'm scared. But they do it anyway. Why? Because they committed. You find courage off that commitment. So I love your 3 tips.
They've gotten me very far. And I have 2 others that kind of go along with them once you get further, but
Sure.
These are the first 3 to get going.
So if somebody wants to find out more about your retreats or working with you, what's the best way for them to find out more?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website to find out about events and workshops coming up. And my website is tamijaffe.com, and it's TAMIJAFFE.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tami Jaffe. She's a career transition business success coach. You can learn more about her and what she does to help you at TamiJaffe.com. That's TAMIJAFFE. Tami, thanks so much for doing this today.
Thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure being here and talking to your followers.
You bet. I'm so glad to be in a community with you, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Tony.
Receive weekly coaching tips from Tony Richards, delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, Tony can help you reach your goals and give you a competitive edge within your industry. Tony's Monday morning coaching memo covers topics ranging from leadership development to teamwork to company culture and more. Text the word leadership to 38470 to sign up for Tony's Monday morning coaching memo, or sign up online at clearvisiondevelopment.com.